All right. All right. Well, thank you for hopping on, you guys. Today, we're going to go through a system that you're already paying for with your dues to the National Association of Realtors. And you've heard me talk a little bit about RPR. I've done a couple of demonstrations here and there, but I figured that this system can do so many other things that it's probably time that I do a deeper dive into what it can do. So let me just pull up my screen here. Okay, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about how to use RPR for representation of buyers and open houses. I'm also going to go through a couple of other little tidbits about RPR that I tend to like. We are by no means going to scratch the surface here, so feel free to go to their learning database and learn a little bit more about this. But so what is RPR? So it's a wholly owned subsidiary corporation, a national database, parcel-centric property information on 166 million US properties. So what that means is that this is software owned, operated, designed by the National Association of Realtors. So if you want my opinion, this is worth the price to entry. If you really get into what RPR can do, you'll realize how useful this tool is. And so when it says it's 166 million US properties, we're going to just look at the local area here in Texas, but you can look at commercial property. You can look at, some home in Orlando, Florida, anywhere in the US. And they are refreshing their data. I want to say it's every 15 minutes or 30 minutes, something really crazy like that. And it interfaces with every MLS out there. So it is, as it says down here, there is no consumer or public access. This is a tool specifically for realtors. But I mention this because whenever we're quick to refer out a piece of business because we don't have access to the MLS, just know that you can look at properties across the country in this system. Now, it's still probably a good idea to refer out that business because you can't, let someone into a home in, Tulsa, Oklahoma, but at least you can provide them with some data with regards to what's available in that area. All right, so when you're talking about the buyer process, you really need to start by asking the right questions. And so things like, are you relocating from another area? What can you truly afford? What are your absolute has to have versus your wish list items? And do you have to sell a home before you can buy a home? And so what you want to do in RPR is determine the anchor, which means why are they moving here? So it's going to be rare that your buyer client is not going to have some reason to direct you to a geographical area within your city. It's going to be either schools, need to be close to the job, need to be close to recreational activities, need to be close to the airport, need to be close to family, okay? So whatever that anchor is, we're going to use that to determine how best to search for homes for them. Now, between RPR and the MLS, believe me, you're going to have all these bases covered. So rather than go through each of the subsequent slides, which kind of directs you to how to do all this, I think it's better to kind of see it. So let's go into RPR. Let me get rid of these. And I can't change that branding for whatever reason. On the right-hand side, you'll see I have White Rock Realty in there, but come October, the Remax part of what I do is going to go away. So all this will go to White Rock, but I apologize. So let's just kind of take a quick tour of what this looks like. So if you guys have not been in here since they've kind of updated the graphics and the user interface, you're going to be pleasantly surprised because they've kind of consolidated some things and made it a bit easier to navigate. So one of the things I'm not going to go into today, but I will strongly encourage you to go to their learning center and learn more about is this shortcut right here for prospecting for clients. And when you click on this, it actually takes you through these little pop-ups on how you can use RPR to do that. And so whether they're a buyer or a seller. So again, I'm not going to go into this today, but this did not exist 6 months ago. So they've really kind of streamlined this to help us prospect. Okay. And then there are other things here where you can do an investor analysis on a particular property. So if you have an investor client or if you are an investor, you can key in an address and see, based on the numbers and the rental rates available in the area, if that is a good investment. Okay. You can create a CMA. You can do that 3 or 4 different ways in the MLS as well. And then the other thing that I have mentioned before I kind of get into zeroing in on the anchors as to why people are moving here. One of the things that I've mentioned before is determining a home valuation. And so I'm going to use my neighbor's house here because it's on the market. And you can pull up any address anywhere in the country and get this exact information. And so if you represent a seller and you're about to go list their home, you could just put in their address and RPR will come up with a home valuation for that property. Now, mind you, the computer is not going to be inside the home, and so it doesn't know whether that home has Formica countertops versus granite or quartz. So you're going to have to tweak it a little bit. However, if you look down here where it says RVM confidence, so revenue, I think revenue or rate value matrix, if all the stars are highlighted here, which they are, that means that there have been enough data points or homes sold to come up with this number over here. So this happens to be the list price. It's probably a bad example because it's on the market, but their home sale price is $473,790. So that means that that's what the list price should be. Now they're a little bit above that. So, I mean, it's not worlds apart, but think Zestimate. So Zestimate in Zillow is based on nothing. It's based on only the homes that are for sale. Zillow does not capture sold data. Well, RPR does. And so if you're in a battle with your seller with regards to, hey, well, the Zestimate says my home's worth $500,000. Well, this says differently, and there's a reason why. Okay, this is based on sold data. Now, what it also does is it provides a range, which is down here. So from 460 to 488. So there's actually not a whole lot of gap between these two numbers, which is good, obviously, but usually there's a wider spread. So what that means is that the homes, this home, the RVM is going to be pretty spot on. I may have mentioned earlier when I go through this exercise that every time someone asks me to double check their comps and how they should price a home, I always come here first and do this, and then I'll look at that same exercise within the MLS. 10 times, well, I won't say that, 9.5 times out of 10, this number that RPR has come up with is the number. And forget what the seller thinks they can get for it or what they need to get for it. When you match this number up with what you find when you dig underneath those numbers in MLS, which you're going to pop up, what, 6, 10 other comps, this is usually pretty spot on. And that's if there's 4 or more stars here lit up. Okay, so I'm telling you that because the confidence level in this number for me has been pretty high. But when I do a listing appointment, I never like to just spit out a number. I always say, well, I can probably list your home between, and it's a range, right? And so RPR also provides that for you. Okay, so that's one of the other shortcuts that that I wanted to mention today. I know I've gone through that exercise before. The other thing is that this research tab. So when you do research for a home, you can, I'll just click this. You can sift this research by different kinds, okay? And the one I wanted to bring your attention to is neighborhood search. So in RPR and in the state of Texas, the naming convention of neighborhood means subdivision name, okay? So let's say I'm looking in Little Elm, Texas, and I'm gonna go over here, and instead of saying exact, I'm gonna say within. And you're gonna see why that's important. I'm gonna do search. And it will now bring up on the left-hand side every subdivision in Little Elm, okay? Now that's important because your client, your buyer client, may say, well, I want to be near XYZ school, and we're going to go into that search in a second. But I know I've looked at some neighborhoods and I really like this other subdivision over here. Okay, and so let's say that's Brentwood. Okay, and you can see for the Brentwood subdivision, there are 256 physical homes in that neighborhood. Okay, the median days they sit on in RPR as a listing, okay, 13. There are 2 homes for sale. The median estimated home value is 433, 440, and that has gone up, let's call it 15% in 1 year. Okay, so let's say, you know, you're the buyer's agent. You can click on this listing, or I'm sorry, this link right here that says view nearby listings. Okay. And as the previous screen said, there's only 2 properties. Let's see where they are. Okay, so one is here at 515, but this one is 530 and it's new. So maybe the buyer didn't know about that. Maybe they thought there were more homes for sale in the Brentwood subdivision. And you can kind of set expectations by saying, well, no, there's not actually. Just wanted to let you know about their neighborhood search functionality. Now, when you do that, you'll notice some icons that come up over here. And so let's say that they lived here, but they wanted to know what the driving distance was between their home and where they work. Well, there's a little icon for driving. And let's say you wanted to do travel time. Okay, I don't want to travel more, and the pin is here. So let's say they're going to move into this home right here. Okay, and I don't want to be more than, sorry, I'm leaving at 8 o'clock to go to my job. It's on an average Monday, and I don't want to travel more than 30 minutes. I'll click next. And theoretically, yeah, there's too many results. So there are homes that fit that criteria. I'll do the search on another exercise. Let's see. Yeah, I need to kind of probably whittle this down to like price and all that. And we'll try this in a second. But let's say they wanted to know what schools were nearby. Well, this icon here does that for you. So let's apply. And here are all the schools in that area. Okay, so there's a ton of them. So if they needed to be near a specific school, we'll go into that in a second. But you can add all sorts of stuff on here. There's points of interest. So let's say I wanted to know where the nearest parks were. Another, they used to have churches.
It's under worship.
Was it? Yep, sorry. That's another important one to most folks. So we'll put that on there, and then up come all the churches. And so, be it the school or the nearby church, that is typically why most people are moving to us. Or well, two of the biggest concerns with regards to where their home needs to be. Okay, so let's just go back as if you're starting the search over again, and let's. Well, before I go into that, in the spirit of figuring out what else RPR can do for you, if you go to let's see, if you scroll down, there's a link for blog, and it says you're about to leave RPR. That's fine. It'll open this up in another browser. And if you go to learning, here are all the videos and webinars and printable items that are available for RPR. And on the left-hand side, you can filter them out by either topics, who your audience is, what your skill level is, things of that nature. And it will only bring up the ones that fit your criteria. So these are the kinds of content there are. A lot of these webinars are have been recorded in a previous session. However, there are live ones that they do. And all you need to do is sign up for one, and they will send you an email on when the next one is that comes up. They're very handy. I don't think they're interactive. Like I don't think you can ask questions during it. But if anyone has ever gone to any of these tutorials in here, the thing I like about RPR is that they really take a ton of content and jam it into like a 5-minute video, and you don't feel like you've missed anything. And the good news about tapping into some of these things that have already been pre-recorded is that you can stop and start it whenever you want. Okay, and take it from me, they have the navigation used to be great. It's even better now that they've kind of tweaked it a little bit. So that's kind of how you get to the other learning content. If you want just something simple, they have one for just kind of getting started, and it will take you from A to Z on, working with buyers, working with sellers, and I promise you a whole new world will be opened up for you. So let's go back to RPR. One of the biggest attributes of this, if you do nothing else, are the reports. And you can do a report, I'll just click on this, on a specific property. You can do one for a seller for their specific property, a property flyer. So if you were the agent of that listing, you could do a property flyer to hand out at an open house. You can do a mini version of this property report, valuation workbook, market activity report, neighborhood report, school report. Okay, and let's just go into mini property report. And I'm going to view, so to the right of this gives you an explanation on how many pages it is. And you can always delete what you don't want to show up, but some of these are pretty big, 81 pages here, 74 pages here. And so the mini is 12 pages. And let's just view a sample. All right, so it's going to look like this. And it's going to have all sorts of pricing information, the actual home facts, the neighborhood facts, the pricing information. And this is just a sample that we're looking at here. okay, what the trends are in the neighborhood. But these are really good leave behinds at an open house. Okay, so today's topic is that, right? So I'm going to go into a little bit more about this in a second. But if you take away nothing else from today, then just understand that the report functionality in RPR is pretty powerful. All right, and so I always, whenever I'm talking about a listing presentation or hitting up expired listings, I always reference an RPR report, and this is what I'm talking about. Specifically, when I'm talking about sellers, it's the property report for that exact property. Because again, it's going to have the recommended price, it's going to have that range, it's going to have the change in value from prior year, how many homes are on the market, all that good stuff. And you know, I find that's something good, something tangible to kind of have your sellers thumb through, you know, versus us just screaming it at them. Okay, so so let's go to home search. All right, so let's go to the research tab, and let's say their anchor is school. We do a school search, and it's going to say, okay, well, where do you want to look? Hang on, and move my pane here. And let's say I'm going to look in Arlington, Texas. And I'm going to do a school search for Arlington. And all these schools will come up. Now, Arlington is huge, so I'm going to scroll down and it's just going to keep going and going and going. Now, you'll notice these grades up here. Those are derived from Great Schools, which is a well-renowned school ranking site. There is always a difference of opinion as to the validity of any school ranking site, but this is the outside of the state. This is kind of the gold standard for how schools are ranked. So the flow of this will be, the buyer will likely tell you, I want to be near XYZ elementary school. Okay, and so and it will give the grade. Right now, you can create a report, and this will be a school report in this case. See, schools highlighted, and it will tell you everything there is to know about that school. Okay, and it might be an eye opener for your client. However, what you're interested in is what homes are available near this school. And there's a link for that, view nearby listings. Okay, now in this case, looks like there's maybe 3. But the interesting thing is that they're all new. So, and these actually look like rental homes. I have lease checked as well up top. Property type. Oh yeah, sorry. Lease. Okay. So, so there aren't many here in this school district. So, but there will be, depending on where you look. Let's look at Atmos Elementary School. All right, so there's quite a few more near this one, right? And so, and then you can end up sending these to your client, but from a, you know, hey, what listings are near this school? You can do that from here. And this is a good exercise. I mean, outside of that, I know the MLS can do some of this too, but it kind of creates more context, such as what is the driving time between this house and where the parents or parent might work. Are there churches nearby? I mean, this is a good starting point, but then you can start to layer on other things that are important to the client that they wouldn't be able to get with the MLS. The MLS does not have school or, you know, local points of interest and churches and all that good stuff. Okay. All right. So that is if the school is an anchor. Okay. And there are different map functionalities as well here where you can put in an address. Hang on one second. Let me just go back here. Yeah, search using a map. Okay, and so the little tutorial comes up. I'm looking Little Elm here again. And so some people will tell you, hey, I want to be south of 380 and Little Elm. That's you hear that a lot, right, Jeff? I want to be south of 380 and, you know, east of 35. And so, you know, some people want to do their search that way, and this is a good way to do that. There is a draw functionality here where you know, you can figure out where they want to be, that type of deal. Right, so you can start your search that way as well. Okay, so so that's that. I've showed you the points of interest, proximity to something. Okay, so the other thing I want to show you is there's an app for RPR as well. And I'm going to attempt to share my iPhone. And I'll show you the apps. The app is right here, RPR. And the thing about the app is that it geolocates you. Okay. And so let's switch gears to if you were doing an open house. So you're at an open house, and if you open up your app to RPR, it's going to know where you are. And so today I'm in Little Elm, and so you can see that there's 5 homes for sale, 2 for lease, 1 that's brand new, and 0 new for lease, and 12 that have recently closed, and 3 distressed. So what's a distressed property? Sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole real quick. So a distressed property is going to be if it is in pre-foreclosure or foreclosure. Pre-foreclosure means that they have gone 3 or more months without making a mortgage payment. Foreclosure means that it is in the process of being foreclosed on. It's just a matter of time. That is important to an investor because that becomes someone that they might be able to help. Okay, so the RPR grabs this from the tax records, or I'm sorry, the county records, and I find those statistics to be pretty reliable. So just FYI. But let's go back to the open house piece first. So I'm going to pull up the 5 homes for sale. Let's say that you were at this home over here for $399 doing an open house. Okay, so if I were you, I would bring a mini property report that we just went through a second ago to the open house, but only bring 1. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. But let's say you're having a conversation with someone at an open house, and if you're like me, it would go something like, hey, what do you think of the home? Well, it's okay. Well, are you looking in this neighborhood? Would it be helpful to see more homes that might be for sale? Yeah, that would be helpful. Okay, well, here they are, right? So here I am in the middle here, right here. And you say, well, we're here at this house for $399, right? But look, there are other houses in the area, and some of which may be in their price point or may not be, but hey, do you have some free time after this open house is over? Are you working with a realtor? Would you want to go see any of these homes? It's going to be yes or no, right? And so let's say it's well, yes, no, or maybe. So let's say it's maybe, and you can pull up this new one here. And so let me take a look at this. Let me see what I can tell you about this home. And so here's some pictures. You kind of, be with the person. They can look at these homes or look at these pictures with you. But the power of this tool is that you can then go to reports next to this filter icon here, and you can send them a report of this home. And let's see, it was 233 East Park. Here we go. All right, and so you could say, hey, I don't know much about this property, but I can do this. I can send a report to you, and let's just click on property report, because that's going to tell you everything there is to know about it. We're going to go to next over here, okay? And then what it defaults to is download the report. You don't want that. You want to click to where it says email. And you're going to say, hey, I can send this to you right now. It'll be in your email box. What's a good email address for you? Oh, well. And they're going to give that to you. And what I normally say is, don't worry, I'm not going to spam you, but I want you to have this. And then do done. And then get report. And so now this report is off to your potential prospect, and you have their email address. So you got a little twofer there. Okay, so I'm going to exit reports and on to the next conversation. But the benefit here is that this app geolocates where you are. And so I've been driving around in my car, just kind of looking, just being nosy around different neighborhoods, seeing what's available. And I'll open up the app and I'll click on homes for sale, and just kind of, research what's going on in that neighborhood. And it's helpful, because you're geolocated, so it knows where you are. And so I find this helpful with open houses. And so when I mentioned earlier, print the property report for the home that you're doing the open house for, but only do one of them. The reason is because there's my report. It's going to be in color, hopefully, and people are going to be attracted to it, and they're going to want it. And you're going to then say, oh, no, this is my only copy. This is just for the open house. I'll tell you what, I'll send you one, and you can have this. You can look at it at your leisure. And if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, that's another way to get their email address. And because you have an account here, it's going to have all of your information. So they're going to be able to reach out to you. Now, this is above and beyond what I would always suggest to do, which is, hey, once you determine if they're working with another realtor or not, assuming the answer is no, hey, is there anybody helping you, sending you homes that meet your criteria? No. Well, would that be helpful? Because you're thinking in the back of your mind, well, you're hitting these open houses. trying to filter out which home is a good fit for you, because they don't know when they show up. And so they're kind of just flying blind. And so that's kind of an ineffective way to spend your time on a Sunday afternoon. So that's why that line of questioning is effective. You know, hey, if you don't want to spend your time driving around just shooting darts at a board, then, you know, let me help you, and by sending you information on homes that might better fit your criteria. So that's another way. But using the app is just further ammunition, where you have a lot of information right at your fingertip. So I just had a coaching session with another realtor before I came into this meeting, and he was going to go do his first open house this weekend. And he just joined a couple of weeks ago, so you know, there's not a whole lot of context just yet. But what I told him was, at the very least, got to have something as a takeaway at your open houses. And so before RPR, before all these bells and whistles, to me, it was just a quick CMA on one page, because the likelihood of an attendee wanting that home is low. And so you want to give them something to take away. And that quick CMA also has your information on it. But at the very least, do that. But know that you have a property report that you can use. You saw a property flyer that you could print out. And then all these other reports and technology with your phone, right? And so if you're doing an open house, whether it's for your client or for some other realtor's client, typically you don't have access to their Wi-Fi, right? Because it's always password protected. So you don't need to worry about that if you have your app, because it's all phone data. So that's what makes it also very powerful as well. So you don't want to have an open house where you don't know anything about the general areas. That's why I said, at the very least, have a quick CMA, but just know that, you know, 2.0 version of that would be print a property report, have that ready as a teaser, you know, because people are going to want to take it and just say, oh, no, I'll send you one. And that's when you can get their email address and send them one on the fly. Okay. So that was pretty much all I wanted to cover with RPR. I wanted to make it manageable so that you could, you know, not be too overwhelmed. There's a lot here. Just the mere fact that you can search any home anywhere in the country is pretty powerful. So so hopefully I've given you some tidbits to walk away with that are actionable today. But again, just know you can go back to RPR, go to that Learn tab or to the blog link, and you know, explore what else the system can do for you. But any questions or feedback on what I've covered? No? Okay.
I've used it a lot for, I've used it on every listing appointment, doing the mini reports. And they look really professional. They lay out real nice. They print off good.
Yep.
So they've been really helpful for that. It looks, you know, it looks like you spent some time and really did some research. It was pretty easy to put together.
For sure.
It's also great when because it has some tools in there that you can refine the value of the house. Mm-hmm. So things like you can say it's a hot market, and so that will up the price of the RVR. Yep. And you can, maybe they just did a remodel. Maybe there's things they've added. It also helps you to check some of the details. Like my own home here in Lantana shows up as only having 3 bathrooms and it has 4. And so that's a big add when you go to sell the house. So it's a good way to check those things out, make sure that they're accurate. And then when you add those things in, it brings up the value of the house. It doesn't change their valuation, but it does give you your refined value. And then you can explain what those refined values are. And you go the opposite. You know, if they've got something that's, you know, their house is tired, worn out, you can bring the value down.
Yeah.
Property as well.
So if you tweak the attributes of the home, it doesn't change the RVM?
No.
Okay.
It shows both the RVM and your adjusted value.
Okay. Okay. I thought it did. That's good. That's good to know. Okay.
But I haven't used the mobile app like you just showed, so that's great. I'll use that a lot now. In fact, I just went in and was looking at it as you're talking. I had my location turned off. So I needed, now that I have that back on, it'll work.
Yeah,
That's a great tool.
yeah, it's very powerful for open houses because you have one chance to, get them on the hook. If you're handing out business cards hoping that people are going to call you, you're going to be sorely disappointed. And so this is a contact sport. So you got to, always be proven value and, give them something they're not going to get with another realtor. So, yeah, good point. Thanks for that,
Yep.
Gary. All right, good. Anything else?
Actually, I use the mobile one when I'm walking in the morning.
Yeah.
just to see, like I'm walking past a house and it'll show me what the sale price is for it. Just
Yeah.
kind of trying to get a feel for what's going on in my neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I kind of glossed over this, but you can actually maybe I did show it on the neighborhood search. It will tell you what I like is that it gives you kind of a snapshot of the home valuation and what's going on there. So I clicked on Little Elm, and if you go into housing, it actually tells you, what the market's doing. So in this case, Little Elm versus Denton County versus Texas versus the entire country, and all these different metrics. So, I mean, you can get as detailed as you want, but I'm bringing this to y'all's attention because every homeowner wants to know if they're moving into an area that's increasing in value, staying the same, or going backwards. And so it's important to know where to get that. And this is just one way. So, and so just to conclude, I mean, me, I'm not a big proponent of the latest and greatest technology, let alone paying for stuff like that you're already paying for. I've mentioned this before. NAR does a survey every year of thousands of buyers and sellers, and they don't give a lick about the agent knowing anything about technology. And so I say that because this is specifically designed by and developed for us. Doesn't get any better than the National Association of Realtors or the Texas Association either. And so, we're already paying for this, so you might as well make use of it. The real estate industry was woefully behind in the technology space until the past, 10 years. Before that, it was physical books. There was no MLS. It was books of listings, and you had to go into the real estate office to see what the status of that was. I was not a realtor during that time, but it sounds just horrific. And so all that to say that we have come a long way in the past 10 years, and it's just going to get better. And so you do not need to go out and buy the latest and greatest piece of technology when it's already provided for you. So take some time to learn what we have, because it's only going to benefit you and your clients. So confidence or knowledge leads to confidence. So anyway, that was it for today. Appreciate you guys hopping on. Anything else before I conclude? No? All right. Well, awesome. We'll see you back here next Thursday. We'll review the numbers from July and some other interesting tidbits as well. So you guys have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next time.